It's Aleya Antoine. You're listening to Tease podcast.
Everyone loves the tease. Stop.
Don't get too excited. Because that's what friends do. Like when I worked at Hooters and Twins, like all of my friends used to grab my ass. But are you doing that because you like her and you want to get with her? Or are you doing that because you're on girly shit? It's just really confusing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Tease podcast. I was debating on how to say hi. I was like, should I be like, what's up, bitches? Or how you doing, hoes? I don't know. I'm terrible at highs and goodbyes. They give me terrible anxiety. If we're at a function, I am not going up to you. You could literally have been my best friend for 14 years and I don't want to walk up and say hi first. I don't know what it is. What if you say hi the wrong way? What if they forget who you are? What if they do that thing where they hesitate, they don't know who you are, and then they're like, oh yeah, you. Not to mention, hi is the first word that you say. So like, what if your voice is scratchy because you haven't like broken it in? So you're like, hello? Anyways, that was like probably the most stressful part of this. And now that we're in it, I feel a lot better. Glad we got that over with. Y'all just saw the most vulnerable part of me. But who am I? My name is Aleya Antoine. And for those of you who don't know me, which is probably like 99.9% of y'all, I did threaten some people like I need someone to listen and watch this shit. So thank you for listening to those of you. Shout out. My name is Aleya Antoine. I'm 22 years old and I currently live in Seattle because I moved here from Texas when my partner got stationed here. I'm in a little bit of a situationship. Are we dating? Are we engaged? Are we life partners? That's a great question. I would personally say that right now we're life partners who live together. They're definitely in the other room and we're casually dating. But that's a whole story for another time. But yeah, I was living in Texas. I started college during COVID and most of my classes were online and I had lived there for already 13 years and I was like, fuck this. I called my advisor and I was like, I've been going back and forth between Washington. Can I just move there? Like, do I really have to do classes in person? And he was like, nope, you can move. So I packed up all my things and I moved over here and I've been here for 2 years. Am I a U-Haul lesbian or just a passionate Aries? You tell me. But I've been really loving Seattle. I would say that it's definitely completely different from Texas. And my favorite thing about it is how in their own lane people are. Like, I'm not even kidding you. In Texas, when you go up to people, if you just make eye contact the wrong way, you're about to hear their whole life story. Like the cashier at Walmart, I found out that his brother is now living with him. He is having a baby with a girl that he only had a one-night stand with. His mom took his TV because she was like, I'm going to give you $100 and I know you need the money. Like, you just learn a lot about people's lives. And I think in Seattle, one thing that I like is that unless someone actually gives a fuck, which 9 times out of 10 they don't, you don't have to like open up about every insecurity that you've ever had and what your childhood trauma is. So I would say that I loved living here so far. It's so rainy though, so I am kind of over it. Speaking of Seattle, last night we went out to Capitol Hill, which is kind of like, I would say, the college district slash gay district slash club district. And I am a little hungover. I was definitely supposed to record this hours ago, but I ended up sleeping until 2 p.m. with a minor hangover. And here's the weird part about the hangover is that we didn't even do anything fun. Like, it was one of those nights where you go to the clubs, right? And you are constantly Ubering to another club, walking to another club, because every single one is lame. Oh my gosh, do y'all know that pain when you're finally excited to go out and then it just completely flops and you and your friends are just like, as long as we're together. I personally was in good spirits. I hadn't gone out for a while because I kid you not, like, one thing about Seattle is during the winter, it is so depressing. They call it Seattle seasonal depression. And I kid you not, it gets dark at 4 p.m., rainy, cold. We were at the clubs the whole day. I'm talking 3-day benders. We went to a club the day before Thanksgiving. Pretty much no one is there. There's like 7 of us. we are drunk. We are dancing in the corner, shaking ass, standing on the tables. The bartender's like, what the fuck? Who are these lesbians just dancing on my benches? And I kid you not, we were the people that the party could be super lame, but we are going to be recording each other with our flash on, standing on the table, shaking ass. And I don't know if it was severe depression. I don't know if it was like group think, because at the time there was always 4 of us or more. So we were kind of like, blinders. The whole rest of the world doesn't exist. But like any group of friends of 4 people, it didn't work. We are no longer all friends. And so now it's like 3 of us that go out, and the difference between 3 to 4 is crazy. Like with 4 people, you can fuck it up and honestly not notice that there's only 3 other people in the vicinity. We're recording with flash on. We're doing conga lines in the middle. It's honestly kind of embarrassing, the audacity that we had. We had a thing called Digis, where we would take pictures of ourselves and make random people do it. And I think our egos were inflated. We were a little delulu. And I think that we all were just very much like, you're hot. No, you're hot. And so all of our heads exploded. But with 3 people, here's the difference. When you have a group of friends of 3 or less, you know what's going on. It doesn't matter how drunk you are aware. So even though maybe you and your other friend are super fun, you're dancing, you still know your surroundings. You're like, yeah, I'm having fun, but this club is kind of lame. So going out with less people has been a very sobering and humbling experience, because we're definitely going to the same clubs that we always went to. And I look around and I'm like, how were we recording like that at this time? I don't know. I just feel like clubbing used to be a lot different, because I had a fake ID since I was 16. And I remember being 16, 17, 18 at the clubs, and that shit was crazy. I mean, even my mom, like, I was alive when she was in college, and she would tell me about her clubbing, and it was crazy. And I just feel like nowadays, it's just not as fun. I don't know what it is, but people dance a lot less. Oh my gosh, my least favorite part is the freaking lurker guys, where they just stand on the wall, posted up, and they're like, yeah, I'm over here watching bitches. But they're not even going up to anyone. They're not even flirting with anyone. They're literally just standing there next to their other guy friends with their hands across their pants, not doing shit. They're not catching ass. They're not making moves. So what are you here for? Just to make the women who are having fun uncomfortable? I'm telling you, the reason why they're in the back with their friends is because all men are gay. Yeah, they want to pretend like they're looking at these girls, but no, they're really getting hard standing next to their friend, and they're like, damn, my friend's kind of fine, but like, that's normal shit. I don't know. I just think that like, definitely like the way that men sometimes have friendships in public, I could name a lot of my friends actually where their boyfriend would probably choose their whole friend group over her. And it's really sad. And I think that it's like a pretty common phenomenon. I would say being queer, lesbian, pan. Okay, I obviously like don't know exactly what label to put on it. We're in a questioning phase, but what I do know is that I am a girl's girl. I am gay, and I am a pussy licker. But whenever it's lesbians, the opposite thing happens. It's kind of like we all have to be friends. And it's kind of like, hey, this is your girlfriend, and I know that we're friends. So am I friends with her too? Because if I'm not nice to her, like, it's just really awkward sometimes. Because when you have like guy-girl dynamic, right? You don't have to be friends with the other guy. He's very clearly his friend. She's your friend. But with lesbians, it's like, if one's masculine presenting and one's feminine presenting, but I'm only friends with the masculine presenting one, I like have to be nice to the femme by default. And then it's kind of like, but what if we're not actually friends? You know what I mean? And now we're just kind of fake, but we all have to get along. It's very much, there's no rules in the queer world, honestly. And I think that's where so much confusion and drama comes from. Like, even I was looking at this TikTok of like a lesbian party, and I could just like see that everyone, like, are they friends? Do they have sexual attention? Are you girls that smack each other ass because that's what friends do? Like when I worked at Hooters and Twins, like all of my friends used to grab my ass. But are you doing that because you like her and you want to get with her? Or are you doing that because you're on girly shit? It's just really confusing. And it just takes it to a whole nother level. Anywho, let's segue into why you're all here and why I started this podcast. So initially, I was honestly really scared about starting a podcast because I was like, does everyone do this? Is this oversaturated? You know what I mean? But then I remember that like men make podcasts and they put it on Instagram with like big ass yellow CapCut text. And I was like, you know what? If men can get on here with their headphones and just like shoot the shit, and even though we all are kind of like cringing low key, we don't say anything, then why should I be shy? Plus, I actually had a podcast back in 2020. I know, I'm one of the first people. I'm like a trailblazer. No, but I actually did have a podcast before, which I really enjoyed, but school started and it was just way too hard to keep up with. No one talks about how different the college experience is depending on your financial and social status. So I have some friends, because I went to private school, who they go to college, right? Their parents give them an allowance and their only job is school. Like, fuck. I don't want to take away anyone's credit, but that sounds so much easier because you have the kids like your only thing is school. Okay, perfect. You can ace all your classes. You can join your clubs. You can do the internships. And then you have the other half, which I was in, that they're either on a scholarship, their parents help pay for their school and nothing else, or they have no help whatsoever. So they're balancing trying to do school, going to work, and then also having a social life. Like, that really changes how school affects people completely. And I think it also completely determines who you're friends with, how hard it is for you to get a job afterwards. Like for me personally, working while in school, I didn't join any clubs. And they want clubs on your resume, but you know how hard it is to join a club when you're going to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then you're working from 5 p.m. to midnight or 1 a.m. because most people usually work nightlife or like bar service or something. And it kind of feels like it puts you behind in a way, or that your whole life is kind of stressful. So there will be some people where they post about college and it's so much fun. I see them at parties all the time. And yes, I do go out and stuff, but I will say that like at least like my freshman and sophomore year of school, I could not. I had to go to work all the time. I was working at sports bars, and I would go in from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. I would rot in bed till like 2 p.m. the next day and just kind of like go through that cycle, and on my one off day do my homework. And I think that really affects how you look back at college and just life in your 20s. I think that some people have it like a lot of fun, and then others, it can like low-key be the most stressful time. You know what I mean? And I technically just graduated, but I actually have one more class that I'm doing over the summer. They just don't do summer commencement. I feel like I have a cool perspective because I have the graduated perspective, but I also have the still in school. And I would say that the biggest effect and sad part about graduating that gave me so much anxiety is that when you're in school, you just have the mask of like, oh, I'm in school, so it's okay if I fuck up. I mean, I'm in school, an old person is like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm in school. The bank says, what's your employment? I'm in school. Your parents are like, do you have your stuff together? I'm in school. What the fuck do you say when you're out of school? Do I have to actually take accountability for my fuck ups and I won't be able to blame it on like having a test due at 2 a.m.? Like, I'm about to have to take accountability for my own shit show. Ridiculous, fired, canceled. Ugh, it's just not fair. Going back to why I started this, I feel like there are a lot of podcasts, right? But it's really hard to find some that can cover like multiple topics. I want to do girl talk. Like, I love reminiscing. I love having conversations. You know, whenever you have a conversation with your friend and you're like, oh my God, that was such a good convo. Y'all go over everything that happened. And then you think about it an hour later and you're like, wait. Can we talk about it all over again? It's like when you call your friend, you tell her the story, and then y'all see each other in person and you go through all of it over again, but it just feels so different even though you're talking about the same thing. I love doing that. And so I wanted to create a space where we could talk our shit, talk about how messy life is, especially when you're in your young 20s and everything. But I also have a hard time finding podcasts, finding media where people with like intersectional views talk about it. Like for me personally, like I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm a woman. Finding a podcast about women, I can do that. Finding a podcast about Black people, I can do that. Black women, maybe, yeah. And then going into the queer aspect too, it's honestly hard to one, find a space where it is lighthearted and fun and you're able to talk about the conversations without having to get too traumatic or having to get too serious. Like just a lighthearted conversation, because we don't always want everyone to be too serious. I want to just talk about fun stuff too. And I mean, that's just for life. Like, even just meeting people when you have multiple minorities under your pocket is ridiculous. Like, I make a new friend and I'm like, okay, so do you like Black people? Okay, you like Black people, but do you like women? Okay, you like women, but do you like gay people? Like, I just feel like it could be really difficult to find something where it encompasses all different points of views. And I'm not saying that I have the point of view of everyone out there. I definitely don't. But I feel like this is going to be a space to where we can talk about things from multiple points of view and from person point of view. Like, this space is for everyone, and I truly mean that. I used to think like, oh, I should be a girl's girl, or bad bitches only, or like I'm just friends with people in college. I would say once I turned like 20, I realized that you can't like pick things based off of just one thing that you have in common with someone. You kind of have to figure out how well-rounded y'all would work as friends, because people are multidimensional, you know? And so when you pick a friend or you pick a space or you pick an outlet that only serves one of your purposes, sometimes that can leave you wondering, oh, well, what about the other perspective? And I just wanted to create a space to where we can dive into that other perspective really unapologetically, especially because, oh my gosh, the way that life has completely taken a 180 in your 20s, I did not realize how short life actually is. Like lately, I have had this weird perspective to where I realize how genuinely short life is. My whole timing is completely warped. I feel like I've never had a good perception on like age or a good perception on spending time with people or the way that time actually works. And I would say that since I've turned 21, like days feel like hours, years feel like weeks. Time actually goes by so fast, and it's genuinely been sending me into an existential crisis. I am grinding my teeth thinking about how fast life moves. Literally, my mom turned 40 because, so I have a young mom, and when you have a young mom, you kind of like think of everyone as young. Like, my grandma was young too. So, like, I've never been around old people really. And when my mom turned 40, I started bawling, crying on her birthday. And she was very offended. She actually did not want to talk to me for like 10 minutes. But I was just like, oh my God, like time actually goes by fast. Like it just doesn't make sense. And it's just kind of like really like fucked me up. And I don't know if that's just me or if everyone else has like a better perception on like time and life and age, but it's been sending me into an existential crisis to where I'm like, if I don't do things that I want to do now, who knows when I'll ever get the chance to do it. Going back into how people talk about like podcasting is oversaturated, it's sometimes really hard not to psych yourself out about dreams that you want to follow or goals that you want to achieve when people say, well, someone's already doing that, so why would you try it? But it's kind of like, first of all, there's multiple TV shows, right? We don't tell people to stop making more TV shows. we already have a lot of doctors. We don't tell people don't become a doctor. We have a lot of people that make cupcakes, and there's always a new bakery opening. So a lot of times we tell ourselves, well, why would I do this? Because someone else is already doing it, and they're already flawlessly doing it. They're already doing it better than me. And we start talking ourselves down and thinking, oh my gosh, I can never try to do this because someone has already slayed it, and who am I to try to enter this space? First of all, from my age, I'm only 22. So let's say I was hard on myself, like, I wish I would have started this 60 years ago. 6 years ago, I was only 18. No, that's not right. 22 minus 6. I'm a communications major, not a math major. 16 years old. If I said I wanted to start this 6 years ago, I would only be 16 years old. I definitely was sharing a room with my younger sister at that point and living with my parents. How could I have possibly started anything earlier? So sometimes we'll tell ourselves, I should have done this earlier. I should have done this then. Think about that earlier time, and did you even actually have the surroundings or the bandwidth to start that thing that you wanted to start? No, you probably didn't. You probably were going through a terrible breakup and a bad relationship. Your mom was on your ass. Maybe at 16 years old, you're not even paying your own bills. My phone is connected to my mom's. Speaking of high school, like, that shit was rough. No one talks about how once you get in your 20s, the freaking hindsight that you have about your relationship with your family and and how fucked up it was in high school. Like, I don't have a lot of friends who can genuinely say, oh, my relationship with my parents in high school was amazing. That shit took a lot of therapy, thousands of dollars in therapy. And just like really addressing what actually happened. The experience of like talking to your family when you're like a young adult is so different because you're like, wait, can I drink wine with y'all? Wait, can I cuss with y'all? Wait, are we friends again? Do you like me again? That's literally how it felt with my mom. Like, I went back to Texas 2 weeks ago for my graduation, and I used to get a panic attack every time I would go to Texas because it just holds all of the really terrible memories. I feel like in high school, as much as there are good memories that you make some really terrible, fucked up memories. And going back to Texas, I would literally have a panic attack every single time before. Like weeks before, I would break out in acne, my eczema would flare up. I got a fucking hemorrhoid. Can't believe I just admitted that. I got a hemorrhoid because I was so stressed out because, a scenery holds everything. And that's also why I recommend that I think everyone should move out of their hometown. Moving out of my hometown was the best thing I ever did because I think about some of my friends that still live there and they're there for 20 years. It's kind of like every memory you have has been in the same place. And I'm sorry, but I just don't think that you can grow in the same place that holds traumatic shit for you and the same place where you were this very young person. I think that even my relationship with my family got better because they actually are able to separate high school me versus me now based on the location that I live in. And it literally just catapults you into a new chapter of your life. Like if I stayed in Texas since high school, I would still be the crazy girl that is cussing out whoever fucked me over at the time at a party, is riding in the car to a house party an hour away with 3 guys that I had just met that day. And I think one of them has a strap on them. I don't know. That actually is a true story. I remember me and my friend, we used to have this Instagram in San Antonio, and it was called 210 Moves. And on 210 Moves, they post the parties that are going on. I think Washington had this too. And do y'all remember this? And there'd be Instagram accounts with the house parties, and people would submit their party for the address, right? And me and my friends used to bounce around all that shit. We would be like, this party, 210 Moves. This one got shot up. Let's go to a different one. And I remember there was this hotel one that we went to, and we definitely should have been there. We were way too young. And it was kind of lame. And there's these three guys in the lobby, and they're like, oh, we're trying to go to another party, but we Ubered here. And we're like, well, where's the party? They're like, San Marcos. And we're like, okay, how far is that? They're like 45 minutes away. And we're like, yeah, y'all can ride with us. We just met them. They're talking, and he was like, let me make sure that my gun's on safety. Me and my friends, you would think that we were like, oh my God, we need to figure out how to get these people out of our car. They have a gun. No, we literally look at each other and go, oh my God, you have one? Yeah, I just put myself in really bad scenarios. That day was actually so traumatic because my friend's car got stuck in mud, and I definitely had curfew at like 2 a.m. My mom was like, you're going to be home in an hour, right? My friend's car's in the mud, and I am over an hour away, and it is already 2 a.m. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that was like one of the first times I ever like really got grounded. It was just kind of a mind fuck because I felt like mentally I was going back to that scared little girl that had anxiety, that would cry in the bathroom for hours, that couldn't speak up for myself, that had friends that secretly kind of didn't fuck with me. It just brought me back to a really, really dark place. And I think that people who sometimes live in that same place, they never actually get past those memories. They never get the chance to evolve. I mean, when I moved to Washington, my clothing style changed. I dyed my hair more red. I got better at my makeup. My relationship got better. I made new friends. I learned about new cultures. I experienced a whole different side of life than the bubble that I grew up in. And I genuinely think that it helped progress me as a person. Like some of my friends that will still live in Texas, they call me and they're like, Aleya, like I want to do this big thing too. And I'm just wondering how you were able to make such a big move at such a young age and you only knew one person. That's such a good question because for me, I've never thought of myself as like an example for people. I don't even want to say that I'm here to give y'all advice because who am I to tell you what to do? But I'm gonna give you advice because I just like doing it and I think I have a good perspective. I think what kind of forced me and gave me the courage to move was when I really took a look in the mirror and I said, do I want to stay this person forever? And if the answer is no, is this an environment that is suitable for me to enter the next chapter of my life without backtracking to who I used to be? And the answer was no. If I would have even stayed in Texas for a year more, that would have regressed my life, my growth so much. I mean, moving to Washington, I get to see different cultures. I get to hear people with new experiences. I mean, I didn't even know anyone who owned a North Face when I lived in Texas. I didn't even know what a Seattle dog was. I didn't even know what it was like to live by water. I didn't know what it was like to wake up next to a partner every single day. Like, I would have just been the same person from high school with maybe a couple of changes, but I don't think that I would have actually become a better version of myself until way later in life. And I think that the way that you also should know if you want to move is if you just feel like you can't take it anymore. There was just this undying itch in me that if I didn't scratch it, I would have collapsed. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. And I'm not going to say that even my life got better in Washington. It just got more authentic. So I actually I make less money now than I did in Texas. I make less money because I, not to be corny, am trying to follow my dreams. I can't even look you in the eye when I say that. I make less money because I'm trying to actually do things that I want to do long term that serve me. And sometimes when you get into that entry level position, whether it's an entrepreneurial thing or it's going into corporate or starting a new job, like you start out on the lowest level. And the lowest level starting is usually less than you make as a waiter or a waitress. And I worked at Hooters. So, I mean, you combine making big ass tips as a normal waitress. Now, I'm waitressing with my tits out. Okay. I don't know if I should say tits out. I definitely had a push-up bra that had like a brick in it. And then I would insert another gel pad on top of that. Then I would tighten the straps, perk up the shirt that was a size smaller than it should have been. And vroom, 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 we got a low budget boob job in it. But yeah, I'm making less. I feel like I've had some really fucked up scenarios happen in Washington too, even how I was talking about how that whole friend group completely dissipated. I mean, shit, like we broke up for a little bit, now we're together. Like it hasn't gotten necessarily better, but it's been real and it's been way more authentic, and it's like forced me to like make my own decisions. And I think that that was good practice, because when you live close to your parents also, chances are, no matter how much you want to say, oh, they don't have a say in my life, they probably do, especially if you're close by. You know what I mean? Because they can actively give their opinion. And whether you want to admit it or not, when you hear someone's opinion, you internalize that shit like crazy and you think, maybe this is what I should be doing. Oh my gosh, my stomach just growled. Okay, so I have been eating like a shit ton lately, but I think it's because I'm on my period. Like, I have been on this thing to where I cannot get full. Like, I will have a pizza, a burger, ice cream, and I am still hungry. I don't know what that is. I just have wine right now, so we're just gonna go take a sip of that. That is refreshing. But yeah, I feel like this podcast is the next step, and I cannot wait to connect with all you guys. I don't know, obviously, what to call my listeners, the 3 of you. I hope there's 4 of you. No, I hope there's 5 of you listening to this right now. 5 fingers to the face. Do you remember that from Victorious? Like, 5 fingers to the face. For the 5 of you that are watching this, I don't know what the name is for you guys yet. I don't know the name of my listeners. It's kind of like when the Kardashians have a baby nowadays and they're like, what's the name? I don't even know the name. The podcast was born and you still don't have a name. I want y'all to name yourselves. Like, can we be like unconventional and like, I'm just gonna let my children, my bitches, my babes, my loves, name yourselves. Let me know what you think. I want y'all to send in questions. When I was getting this podcast started, because I am doing it on my own right now, I am the social media manager, I am the camera recorder, I am the creative director, the script writer, the editor. I wear many hats. And when I realized that I was gonna have to manage the social media for this podcast, I was like, oh my God, I have to download Twitter. And you may be thinking, what's so wrong with Twitter? I cannot have Twitter on my phone normally. Here's the thing. I have to delete Twitter off my phone because I cannot stop watching Twitter porn. Something about Twitter porn just freaking does it for me. I'm honestly not even a big porn watcher. Like, I don't really go on Pornhub. I don't really like, honestly, watch porn to get off. Like, I'm definitely someone that would rather watch a music video or like a very sensual movie or just like think in my head. But something about the little clips just does it for me. I think it's like the teasing aspect. Like the podcast. Stop. Are we? Is it the teaser? I think it's the way that they do the teasers and stuff like that, that like I will go into a rabbit hole of scrolling, and next thing I know, it's been 2 hours. I have seen all of this girl's post and I'm like, wait, where's the rest of it? And I know that a lot of girls, like their porn choice is like girl on girl. As a queer woman, I don't know if I should like admit this, but like I don't really watch girl on girl porn. You know what I think it is? It's because normally girl on girl porn, it just feels very like it's catered to a masculine audience. And I know what girl on girl is like firsthand. And so to me, it just like always seems fake. I think there's just also not enough masked lesbians that are in the like OnlyFans porn industry. This is a PSA to all my masculine presenting women. You need to get in the space. You need to give us what we're waiting for, because now you have me out here watching straight porn. But yeah, I downloaded Twitter for you, hoes. So if that doesn't show how dedicated I am to building this relationship with us, then I don't know what will. I think that like that was way too vulnerable. But yeah, no, I know it's not just me though. I know that Twitter porn gets a lot of people. I know it's not just me. You're freaking lying if you say it's not just me. But I think that this was a great place for me to just go ahead and stop and quit while I'm ahead. That way you do come back for the next episode. Oh my God, Did we do it? Are we like official, or is this like, this is the first date? Did I make it to the second date? I think I did. Thank you guys for joining me on the first episode of Tease. Woo, 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 woo. I want to go ahead and post on the Instagram and put up a form. That way y'all could submit questions, story times, ask for advice. I want to like make this as interactive as possible. Be sure, I'm about to pitch myself. Be sure to please, please, please subscribe to the podcast, like the podcast. Follow us on all platforms. It's Tease Podcast on everything except on Instagram. It's at Tease Pod. I am currently working on my trademark thing. Instagram, if you're listening to this, I don't think I'm there yet. But if you are, please just give me the username. No one else is freaking using it, and they said I could have it. So at Tease Pod on Instagram, at Tease Podcast and everything else. And my personal socials are at Aleya Antoine on all platforms. You can watch this as a video if you haven't been watching on Spotify or on the YouTube channel. I am actually wearing nothing right now, so I'm kidding. Or am I? You have to see to find out. But be sure to send in questions. I want to hear what you guys have to say, what y'all are thinking. And if you subscribe or like the show, then it really helps me out. That way I don't have to go corporate after I finish that one class. And send this to your friends. Send this to your situationship, your mom, your dad. Unless I know them, don't do that. Don't send it to my mom. Please don't do that. But send it to everyone you know and just be like, hey, if you subscribe, then you get a secret surprise that I will be. What do y'all want? What do I have to do to get y'all to do this? Let me know. Let me know, and we'll work something out because I am on my hands and knees to get y'all to do this. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. I love y'all. Bye. We did it. We did it. Cheers. Woo! I don't know if anything that